and welcome back once again to After the Credits. So, the next movie I saw today, after I've finally finished rambling about Barbershop for 25 minutes, the next movie I saw today was Criminal. What did I think of Criminal? Let's see. It was both what I expected and not what I expected at all. It was what I expected as far as everything you see in the preview is in the movie. It wasn't what I expected as far as it seemed like it would be a lot more of an action-based film, and there was next to no action in it. I mean, if you're going into this expecting like a Jason Statham type of movie or like a Jason Bourne type of movie, maybe a little bit more towards Jason Bourne, but without all the action. How he has those little segments where he kind of had to figure out like who he was or whatever, but then it would jump into an action scene. Just keep following the Who Am I storyline, but cut out all the action scenes, and you would have Criminal. So we start out with Deadpool, or Ryan Reynolds, sorry. And he's on this mission running around, and he gets cornered by the adversaries, and for once in a movie, the good guy can't shoot his way out. He actually gets captured, he gets tortured, and he ends up getting killed. No spoiler there, because otherwise how would we get to the next part of the movie? I will say, in regards to Ryan Reynolds, this is probably one of his better performances. Like I said in the Deadpool review, I'm kind of tired of his shtick of, oh, I'm the sassy, loudmouth who doesn't shut up, and that's how he got Deadpool in the first place. This movie, he actually drops all that. He's actually playing a very straightforward character. He's not jokey. He's not doing the sarcastic bit. He's just playing a guy who's trying to get away from these guys that are trying to kill him, and he gets cornered. And I actually enjoyed that Ryan Reynolds a lot more than I enjoyed the one in Deadpool, even though the one in Deadpool sort of fit Deadpool, but at the same time, he wasn't playing Deadpool. He was playing goofy Ryan Reynolds that's in every other Ryan Reynolds movie. In this one, he breaks away from that, and that's what I kind of enjoy. He does actually have an acting range. Surprise. So he gets captured and killed. Then the government, I'm not sure exactly what branch they are, I'm assuming they're CIA because they're dealing with international. So they go and talk to this doctor who's played by Tommy Lee Jones, and he's conducting these experiments with transplanting memories from one mind into another. And the way it works is they can map out, like when someone dies, they can hook up all these electrodes to the brain, and they can make all the synapses fire one last time and kind of map out the brain's circuitry, basically. And then they have a subject who has like an underdeveloped mind or something, and they can inject this, basically it's like a stem cell type of thing, into the mind, and it'll actually cause the mind to develop properly. But when it develops, it actually develops as the pattern of the previous person's mind. So for a short time, they start to basically have they still have their own mind, but at the same time they have the memories and skills and knowledge of the person whose mind was injected into them. But this procedure hasn't been tested on humans yet. He said he's still like 5 years out from human testing. He's only tested it on rats. But they decide that they need the information that only Ryan Reynolds knew, which is where they stashed this cyber terrorist who he had cracked some government computer system, and he's like, I'll sell it back to you for asylum, like $10 million for my own personal safety, and a passport with a new name, new identity, so I can get away from everything, and you'll never be bothered by me again. So Ryan Reynolds was trying to broker the deal and set it all up. He got the guy to a safe house, and that's when he had gone to pick up the money and the passport and everything. He got that, and that's when the people were on his trail, so he was trying to lead them away from the guy, and that's when he ended up getting killed. So they need to know where the guy's at because they need to desperately get back this program that can hack their system. So they're trying to figure out a way to talk to the dead, basically, and they find out about this doctor's technology, and they're like, let's do it. And he's like, well, I'm 5 years out from human testing. They're like, well, you just got moved up. Government priority, whatever they call that when it's an issue of national security, so you can get things approved that you would normally need a lot more time to get approved. There's a term for it, but I can't remember what it is. So they're like, well, who can we use to implement these memories? He goes, well, you need a specific type of person. And they said, well, do you have someone in mind? He goes, I do, but you won't like it. And it turns out it's this criminal who, he had a head injury when he was a kid, and it caused his brain to underdevelop, so he has basic understanding of things, but he doesn't have an understanding of consequence. Basically, like, he can run into a wall, and he doesn't comprehend before running into the wall that this could cause me injury or this could hurt. He runs into it, and then he's like, oh, I broke my arm. So it's kind of like he doesn't have a concept of things like that. They explain it better in the trailer, but they say, like, he has no understanding of a lot of things, but then, like, he does. You can tell he kind of has the fight or flight mentality. He's very primitive in like, he can speak and everything, but he's very primitive and kind of undereducated. So like when they're taking him someplace and he's handcuffed, he kind of looks over his shoulder and he kind of has this look of fear on his face, but it's not really fear. It's kind of like what's going on, and like he's trying to figure out what's happening to him, what his surroundings are, and things like that. So he does have some concept of things that are going on around him more than what the trailer says that he does, but at the same time, like, certain things just aren't there. Like, he crawls through a broken window with no concept of you could cut yourself until he cuts himself, and he's like, oh shit, I cut myself. So, and they were trying to, like, make it like he doesn't feel pain or anything, but he does feel pain, because when he cut himself, he kind of screamed, he's like, ah, but and then, like, as he's stitching himself up later, you can tell he's kind of... Well, that was at a later point when he'd already had the memory engram. So that's... I don't know, it's hard to tell. But, yeah, so basically they inject Ryan Reynolds' brain into this guy's brain, and at first it doesn't seem like it's working, so the director of the CIA is like, get rid of him. And then... as they're taking him back, some things progress, and he escapes, and then he finally starts to get these flashes of Ryan Reynolds' memories, and he's trying to figure out what's going on, so he's still, like, walking around acting like how he would normally act, and, everyone's kind of like, what's this guy's problem, because he's basically just being excessively rude and, like, cutting in front of people in lines and stuff, and like grabbing other people's food when he's hungry, and they're like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, what, I'm hungry, and walks away. So it kind of progresses like that for a little bit, and then, like, the more the memory engrams start to encode in, he starts to, like, when he's rude to someone, he apologizes, and then he's like, wait, why am I apologizing? I'm not sorry. Why did I say I was sorry? So he finally starts to understand what's going on, and he's starting to piece everything together. And at first he's still kind of being him, but the more it goes on, the more Ryan Reynolds' character starts to take over, to where, like, when he meets his wife, at first he kind of ties her up because he knows how she's going to react, but then, like, when he goes to tie up the daughter, he realizes that he couldn't harm the daughter, so he leaves her alone. And then, like, at another point, he lets the wife go, and then he leaves. And then another time he comes back and confronts the wife, and he's kind of telling her what's going on, and like gives her information that only Ryan Reynolds' character would have known, so that she knows he's telling the truth. And at first she's still a little hesitant, so she's still kind of pointing the gun at him. He's like, look, your husband could never hurt you, so neither could I. And so she kind of like starts to trust him a little bit more, but not really. As the movie goes on, she trusts him more and more. But yeah, so he starts to piece everything together, starting to remember like where he put certain things, where this guy is at, and it's like slowly leading him back to where he stashed this guy. So there's a little bit of action in it, but not a whole lot. It's usually like there's a brief bit of action when he escapes from something, and then there's like a little gun battle, and then he gets out of that, and then he's kind of like back in hiding or, you know, trying to find some place to patch himself up. There's more backstory, more everything's coming together. You know, this is where I need to go next. He gets there. There's a little bit more confrontation with the bad guys or with the CIA, because the CIA director is a complete freaking idiot. Even the doctor tried to tell the CIA director, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time, give him some time, and the guy's just like, no, this was pointless, get him out of here. And it's like, calm the hell down, wait a couple minutes, and maybe it would work out in your benefit, you know? So the action scenes are few and far between, and they're not really heavily action when they do happen. So overall, you know, it just kind of plays out as, like I said, if you took the like Bourne Identity and cut out all the heavy action scenes and just had Jason Bourne trying to figure out who he was, that's kind of this movie. So eventually he figures out everything that's going on, and right when he kind of has the full aspect of all this guy's memories, he starts to forget certain things, like he forgets his daughter's name. And the doctor says, you know, this was never meant to be permanent, it was only meant to be temporary. You know, after like another 2-3 hours, everything's going to fade and you'll be back to your old self again. He goes, there is a way that I could stabilize it, maybe, and you could keep these memories, but you would have to stop what you're doing and come to my office. And he goes, I can't, you know, I have to see this out, I have to, you know, make everything right. So he's doing that, and then by the end of the movie, everything kind of resolves, and, you know, again, he's still kind of forgetting everything, but he manages to remember enough to let them know, like, what he did. So there's that resolve there. I'm not going to spoil what it is. Just know it's a movie, so everything gets resolved. And then they have the ending, which I'm not going to tell you that either. You can probably figure it out. It's a movie. Unlike Barbershop 4, whatever the hell you want to call the next cut was, where it didn't have an ending, this one actually does resolve. I might have liked to have seen it go in the other direction, where it resolved but for the opposite. No one ever goes the opposite direction. There was a movie, I can't remember what it was. It was kind of a chick flick. It was one of Mark Ruffalo's earliest films where he was dead or in a coma or something, or the girl in the movie was dead or in a coma, and they kind of fell in love as ghosts or something, and then like they met each other at the end and they didn't remember each other, and then like when they touched each other, they like all the memories came flooding back and they like fell in love with each other instantly. And I remember when I was watching that movie, I think I rented it on DVD at one point, and there was a DVD extra where they had pieced together in the little flashback thing, instead of all the good moments, they had pieced together like all the bad moments of their time together in Spiritland or whatever. And then they just kind of turned away from each other like, no thanks, and just kind of left. And honestly, like, even though it was just an extra, if a movie actually ended like that, it would be so hilarious and it would just be original, you know. So the fact that someone actually put that together, even though it didn't end up as the ending of the movie, just the fact that it exists, it makes me laugh. So it would be like a decent ending to a film, but you never get those. You always get the positive, happy ending. But yeah, in this case, I think like a reverse happy ending, you know, like a not so happy ending might have worked out better. Like they still could have resolved it to a point where everything ended all right, but have the opposite of what happened happen. I can't really describe it without spoiling it, but if you see the movie, just think, you know, what would happen if the ending, if the very last scene hadn't happened, if it just was left blank. Yeah, so, Christ, I'm just kind of rambling. I don't even know what I'm saying about this movie anymore. So yeah, everything got resolved. So what would I give it as far as a star rating now that I've rambled about it for almost 17 minutes? Honestly, this one I'd probably give a 2.5. It's kind of like I said, a middle of the road movie. It's basically every other movie you've seen before, but it falls short of a 3 because I was expecting there to be a lot more action. I was expecting it to be like a Jason Bourne movie or like a Jason Statham type of movie, where it's just like a lot of high impact, like high octane type of movie. But that wasn't there. It was very few, very far between, and very short when they did happen. Yeah, and because of that, it falls short with me. I don't think it was bad enough to deserve to be a 2, like Barbershop, but it doesn't deserve to be a 3 either, so I think this one will fall in the middle, and we'll do a 2.5 on this one. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this episode. If I can remember the name of that other movie, I'll probably throw up a picture of it, like over here somewhere. I probably own it, actually. I just cannot think of what it's called. It's not Heaven Can... It's something like that. But yeah, so that's it for this episode. Again, as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, rate, subscribe, share the video. Links are up there in the banner or down here in the description. You can follow me on all the social networks. I'm on most of them, I think. If it's not listed down there, then I probably don't have it. So yeah, that's all for today. And until next time, we will see you after the credits.